is not setting it up perfectly, is not clearing your house away so you've got a perfect studio set up, but it's really capturing those moments that feel real to you and that capture a moment or an expression, or a feeling, I suppose.
In a statement released through Kensington Palace, Kate spoke of the Pope's humility, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the world's most vulnerable. She called him a beacon of hope during troubled times and even revealed that he had personally reached out to her during her recent health struggles. Turns out, Kate wasn't just another royal offering polite condolences. Behind the scenes, she'd been corresponding with the Pope, thanking him for his prayers and support when she was battling illness earlier this year. Sources close to the palace say his words of encouragement meant more to her than anyone realized, and she wanted the world to know. But that's not all. Reports say she'd also quietly arranged for a representative to attend a private memorial service at the Vatican in her honor. And while some critics saw her initial silence as cold, Kate was mourning in her own personal way. But before we get to Kate's confession, let's take a moment to understand the magnitude of Pope Francis's passing.
And we do begin tonight with the death of Pope Francis, the leader of 1.3 billion Catholics around the world, and a spiritual figure whose humility and tolerance was felt well beyond the church.
Pope Francis passed away at the age of 88 after suffering a stroke followed by heart failure. His death wasn't just the loss of a religious leader. It marked the end of an era for millions around the world. Almost immediately, tributes began flooding in from every corner of the globe. World leaders, from U.S. President Joe Biden to French President Emmanuel Macron, released heartfelt statements praising the Pope's commitment to peace, human rights, and compassion for the marginalized. Religious leaders from various faiths also joined in, showing just how far the Pope's influence had reached beyond the Catholic Church. Even leaders from Jewish, Muslim, and Protestant communities shared their admiration for how Pope Francis worked to build bridges between faiths. Meanwhile, everyday people took to social media sharing their personal stories about how the Pope's words and actions had touched their lives. Hashtags honoring him trended worldwide within hours. Vigils sprang up across Argentina, where crowds gathered in the streets, lighting candles and singing hymns in his memory. Bells rang out from churches across Europe, Asia, and the Americas, signaling a shared moment of mourning. At the Vatican, St. Peter's Square filled with thousands of mourners, many holding photos of the Pope or signs thanking him for his service. Some had traveled for days just to be there, wanting to say their final goodbye. People stood shoulder to shoulder, praying, crying, and reflecting on the man who'd led the Catholic Church through some of its most challenging times. In true Francis style, his funeral plans were kept simple and humble. According to Vatican officials, the Pope had requested a modest ceremony in line with his lifelong values of humility and service. There would be no grand processions, no elaborate displays, just a straightforward mass at St. Peter's Basilica, attended by close friends, Vatican officials, and world leaders. Even in death, Pope Francis stayed true to the simplicity he preached. As the world bowed their heads, Kate Middleton remained quiet. Adapting to the film's rise and fall, traditionally the royals didn't go unnoticed. While members of the British royal family issued public statements expressing their condolences, Kate remained silent. The media picked up on it right away. Headlines asked why the future queen consort hadn't spoken out. It wasn't just about protocol. Traditionally, the royals issued statements in coordination with Buckingham Palace, but even palace insiders were reportedly puzzled by Kate's lack of response. Some pointed out that Kate had never had a publicized meeting with Pope Francis, unlike her husband Prince William or other senior royals. In fact, her interactions with the Vatican had been minimal over the years, raising questions about whether she simply didn't feel connected enough to release a personal tribute, but others wondered if there was more to it. Given Kate's recent health struggles and time away from the spotlight, some speculated that she might be choosing to grieve privately, or perhaps she had her own reasons for holding back. As days passed without a statement, the conversation only grew louder. And then, just when headlines were starting to question her silence, Kate broke it with one powerful confession.
I sort of learn along the way, but actually during this time I spent lots of time putting out my camera and taking photographs of children because they're always around us and we're doing stuff together, which has been great.
When Kate Middleton broke her silence, it wasn't through a casual social media post or a brief public appearance. It came through a carefully worded official statement released by Kensington Palace. And to everyone's surprise, it wasn't just a standard message of condolence. Her words went deeper, far deeper than anyone expected. In the statement, Kate didn't just acknowledge Pope Francis as a global religious leader. She spoke of him as a personal source of inspiration. She described how his messages about humility, compassion, and quiet service had profoundly influenced her, not just in her royal duties, but in how she approaches motherhood. One of the most striking parts of the statement was when she revealed something that had never been made public before. She once received a personal letter from Pope Francis. According to Kate, the letter had arrived during a particularly reflective period in her life. While she didn't reveal the full contents, she shared that the Pope's words in that letter helped shape how she saw her role as a mother and a public figure. His thoughts on patience, kindness, and putting others first resonated deeply with her, so much so that she admitted she still keeps the letter safely tucked away, often rereading it in moments when she needs grounding. Kate also spoke about how the Pope's emphasis on humility and service reminded her of the responsibility she feels to use her platform for good. She tied this directly to her work with early childhood development and mental health. According to her, Pope Francis's consistent call to care for the most vulnerable had been a quiet motivator behind several of her charitable initiatives. The language of her statement was heartfelt, thoughtful, and deeply personal, far more than a royal obligation. And for many, it answered the questions about her earlier silence. It wasn't that she didn't care, it's that her relationship with the late Pope wasn't for show. It had been personal, private, and meaningful. But this wasn't the first time Kate had been influenced by the late Pope's teachings. Turns out, Kate and Pope Francis had a bond deeper than the public ever realized. According to insiders close to the palace, there was a moment years ago when Kate privately requested an audience with Pope Francis. It wasn't part of the official itinerary, and it wasn't publicized in any formal capacity, but it happened. Sources claim that during the 20-minute closed-door conversation at the Vatican, the two talked about subjects that matter most to both of them: motherhood, faith, and the burden of public life. Kate, who had just become a mother at the time, reportedly opened up about the challenges of raising children in the spotlight. Pope Francis, who had long championed the emotional and spiritual strength of mothers, listened intently and offered her personal words of support. What really stood out was a small but meaningful gift he gave her. It was a silver medal symbolizing peace and maternal protection. Kate kept it as a private keepsake. It wasn't something she ever displayed publicly, but those close to her say she keeps it in a personal drawer, away from the press and the public eye. Their meeting might have flown under the radar for years, but its impact, the Pope's words, both in person and through the letter he later sent, seem to have stayed with her and possibly helped shape the way she's carried out her roles both as a royal and as a mother. This secret meeting and his personal words would end up shaping Kate's life in surprising ways.
Your Royal Highness, do you have any wishes for your new niece, Lilibet?
Oh, I wish her all the very best. I can't wait to meet her.
Kate's focus on early childhood development hasn't just been a passing interest. It's been a cornerstone of her work for years. And when you look at it alongside Pope Francis's deep commitment to nurturing future generations, the connection becomes clearer. The Pope always emphasized building strong foundations for children, believing that the way we care for the youngest shapes the future of society. That same idea shows up in Kate's early years campaigns, her research initiatives, and her push to bring early development into national conversation. But it's not just about the causes she champions. Kate's approach echoes the qualities Pope Francis was known for. The Pope didn't lead with grandeur or distance, he led with compassion, and in many ways, Kate's public image reflects a similar tone. She's often praised for her down-to-earth manner, her genuine warmth during visits, and her commitment to connecting with people beyond formalities. There's also her family life. Despite being in one of the world's most high-profile positions, Kate and William have worked hard to give their children a sense of normalcy. That desire to keep their family grounded feels very much in line with the way Pope Francis lived. choosing simplicity, rejecting excess, and always keeping humanity at the center. And as the world says goodbye to Pope Francis, Kate's tribute is more than just words. It's a quiet testament to his legacy, living on in unexpected places. But Kate's confession also shines a light on something bigger, how far the bond between the British monarchy and the Vatican has come. There was a time when the idea of friendship between the British monarchy and the Vatican seemed impossible. Centuries of religious conflict had left deep divide, but over the years, those walls have slowly been replaced by bridges. One of the most symbolic moments came when Queen Elizabeth II met Pope Francis back in 2014. It wasn't just a formality, it showed genuine warmth and mutual respect. And more recently, King Charles III has shared common ground with the Pope, especially when it comes to global issues like protecting the environment. Both have spoken out about the responsibility leaders have to care for the planet and for vulnerable communities. Their shared focus has become a powerful symbol of cooperation across faith and institution. Kate's tribute adds another layer to this growing connection. By publicly acknowledging Pope Francis's influence on her personal life and her approach to motherhood and service, she's reinforcing a message of unity. It's not just a statement from one royal figure. It's a nod to a broader relationship, one that's grown from division into dialogue. In many ways, her words honor not just a pope, but a peacemaker between worlds. Kate Middleton's confession wasn't loud or dramatic, but sometimes it's the quietest words that carry the deepest meaning. What do you think of Kate's tribute, and how do you think Pope Francis's legacy will shape the next generation of world leaders? Let's talk in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal revelations and global stories.